Hello, grade 10s. It's that, dare I say, exciting time of year again, course selection time. For those of you who don't recognize my voice, it's Miss Schlatter, one of the counselors at Delview. And although I did want to be on screen for the start of this presentation, it didn't quite work because I had some technical glitches. So I will just be talking to the information. I know it's not ideal, but hopefully next year we will actually be able to be in classes and do these in person, which is a way better to do it. Please do your best to stick with me as I work my way through these slides. And as always, thank you in advance for respecting those around you who are trying to take in some of the information I'm sharing with you today. For those of you who don't know who I am, as I already said, I'm Miss Schlatter and I'm one of the counselors at Delview. And the other two counselors won't be here because they're doing their own presentations as we speak. So let me just take a moment to remind you who your counselor is. If your last name starts with the letters A through G, you probably by now know that Miss Pooney is your counselor. For those of you whose last names start with the letters H through N, you will be happy to hear that we have hired an awesome counselor who has been with us since January and who will be here for the long haul. Her name is Miss Sharma and she is absolutely lovely. Please take some time to introduce yourself, as I know she is really looking forward to getting to know all of her students. So the rest of you whose last name falls between the letters O through Z, or Oz, as I say, are stuck with me. So those of you who've already forgotten who I am, it's Miss Schlatter. So those are your counselors. So a large part of our job is really actually to support you in this course selection process. So please don't be shy about connecting with us. We'd be more than happy to help you through this process. And now as I actually sit and look at this picture in front of me, which I took, which is a park I frequent with my two dogs, I'm reminded that not only are you all on this sort of pathway or journey to making decisions about your future, but also I'm reminded of the beauty of the land that we live on, because that's absolutely gorgeous. And with that in mind, I acknowledge that we are on the lands of Tsawwassen, Musqueam, and Coast Salish peoples who have been here since the beginning of time. As someone who has been lucky enough to live in both Tsawwassen and North Delta for most of their life, I really do appreciate the land that I've been learning, working, and playing on, I guess, my whole life. And for that, I am truly grateful. So go out there and enjoy the beauty and the life-sustaining land that we inhabit. You'll all feel better after doing so. Now, as much as I'd like to stare at that picture because it's quite peaceful, at least it is for me, we have some business to get through, so let me get going here. By the end of this presentation, you should know this information. And what I mean by that is that you should know what you need to graduate. You should know, how are you going to make decisions about your courses? How do you get credits? What do you need for grade 11? And even more importantly, then, where do you find information if you need more information? And then how do you actually register for your courses? This is the process. Today, you're getting the counselor information. Tomorrow, the next day, you'll get the career education post-secondary advisors information, and that's Miss Abad. Then over the next few days, you're going to research, consult, and talk to people, look at the course booklet and get the information you need. And then in the next 2 weeks, you're going to be taken into the computer lab in one of your classes and sign up for your courses. Grad 2024, that is what we are aiming for. That's the goal. We really want to see everybody cross the stage in their cap and gown. When we look at the basics around grad requirements, everybody in BC has to graduate with at least 80 credits. Each course is 4 credits. Credits are accumulated in grade 10, 11, and 12. And so you have 3 years to take 20 courses that will get you to the 80 credits. Looking at the specifics of what you need a Math 10 and 11, not a Math 12. You need a Socials 10 and then a Socials 11 or 12, and I'll explain a little bit more about that one later. You need a science 10, a science 11. You need English 10 and English 11 and 12. And you'll notice grade 12 is the only course for those core subjects that you need at the grade 12 level. You need physical health education. You need to pass that this year if you haven't already done so. Next year, you will be taking a course called Career Life Education. You need that to graduate. And then you need 3 other courses at the grade 12 level, and those could be anything. Ministry of Education does not care whether it's art, physics, drama, woodworking, film, psychology, life sciences, doesn't matter, needs to be a grade 12 course. You also have Career Life Connections and Capstone to do in grade 12, and we'll talk more about that next year. And then you must have at least 5 other electives in grades 10, 11, or 12. One of those must be a fine arts or an ADST course, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But you have 3 years to gather those 5 courses. You have 2 assessments that you do. It's actually 3, but it's 2 types of assessments, I guess. You have a numeracy assessment in grade 10, and then you have a literacy assessment in grade 10 and in grade 12 that must be completed in order to graduate. When we're looking at how you actually gain those credits, most of you will do this right here. You will be looking at school courses. You'll pass your courses, you'll get credits. Some of you might also be looking at summer school, and summer school is usually the month of July and the first week or so of August. And typically you could take 2 courses at summer school, but I believe last year they only were allowed to take 1 because of the pandemic, but we're not sure what that's going to look like yet. And once we get that information, we'll be pushing that out to everybody. So don't panic, just listen to announcements, and that will probably be just after spring break. External credits are kind of cool, and external means anything outside of the school system. So if you've been playing the piano for a number of years, or lifeguard, or something else at a high level, then you possibly could get credits for the learning that you've done there. You need to communicate with your organization, and they will help you figure out what you get credits for. If you have questions, please come by and see your counselor, and we'll help you sort through that. There are also career programs that you will now have access to, and we'll talk about those a little bit later. Language challenge, super important. Those of you who already speak and know and read and write another language can challenge a language at the grade 11 level, and typically we have people who do that with Punjabi. That seems to be the biggest one that folks challenge. So if you've got that, pay attention to the information that we will be sending out in the fall. And if you have questions, as always, see your counselor. If you've got credits from another country or another province or somewhere in grade 10, 11, 12, we also take a look to see if we can give you some credits there, so that will help you graduate on time. And then there are online courses. Online courses actually deserves its own slide because people really get confused with online courses. The bottom line is, when you're doing an online course, you need to be an independent worker. You are on your own doing it. You work with a teacher who is at the other end of the computer. There's no in-person person helping you. You cannot be in an online course and in a in-school course at the same time. You can only be in a course in one place at a time. All right, you can repeat a course online, but if you're at Delview in physics, you can't be taking physics online. You do not get a study block, and that's fairly important for your online course. You have to take 8 courses next year. If you take online, that would be your 9th course. This doesn't impact you folks as much, but I know that universities often want to see your final mark in an online course done before spring break when they're looking at giving students offers. That shifted a bit this year because of the pandemic, but we'll have a better sense of what that looks like next year for you folks when that becomes a bit more relevant. Here are the courses that you need to graduate. Hopefully you've caught this pattern: English, a science, a math, a socials, this very specific course, and 3 electives. And now I want to just talk a little bit about how on earth you're going to make those decisions about your courses. We need you to really focus on being informed and realistic. Inform yourself about what is needed to graduate, what you need for schooling after high school, post-secondary, what are your interests, strengths, etc. Picking courses based on what your friends are taking or who the teacher is may be valid, but don't get caught up in making your friends or your teachers happy. Although a lovely trait, you really need to focus on your own unique path forward. That's what's going to bring you closer to the future that you envision and that you really want. When you are taking courses or looking at courses, take some time to think about who you really are. And I mean who you really, truly are. Take the time to look at what's important, your values, your strengths, what keeps you going, what interests you. Those are all going to be connected to your future happiness. You need to show some self-awareness right now. And I know that you are all still developing what we call a sense of self, of who you are and who you want to be. That's totally appropriate. That's the age you're at. There's still going to be a lot of changes and growth for you, but the ability to be aware of your own inner life or thoughts, looking at your strengths, your challenges, or your stretches, as we like to say, looking at your values, your goals, your identity, knowing your stressors. All of those are things you want to start paying attention to, because those are the things you should be considering when you start thinking about your future plans, what courses you want to take. You need to be realistic about those things. And the more time you take now to kind of figure some of that out, the more likely you actually are to be in sort of this good place where you get to create the life that you want to lead. And that's really important. Just one more thing sort of on this topic. It's interesting that over time that we have learned that it's not the actual experience that you learn from, but it's how you process that experience. It's the thinking and processing of what has happened that we learn from. So why on earth am I telling you that? Because I want us to do a very quick reflection on your first semester. I want you to just take a minute and in your mind answer some questions that I know I'm going to go through really quickly, but I want you to reflect on how your first semester went. So, what subjects or topics did you enjoy the most? What about them was enjoyable? What were your grades and your comments on your report card? Are you satisfied with those? How much effort did you put into your learning on a scale of 1 to 5? What are 2 things that you can do better or differently next semester? What activities are you involved in outside of classes? It could be gaming, sports, dance, faith. What are you learning from those experiences? And did they actually enhance or did they hurt your classes for first semester? Did you learn anything about yourself as a learner, as a person? What's something that you accomplished last semester? I know I've gone through those, but I hope you all took at least one of those statements and thought for a moment how your last semester went and how some of what happened and what you've learned from that you can move forward to this semester and forward in your life. So things always go, a certain way, whether it's good or bad or whatever, but learn from it, reflect on it, go, what can I do better, right? Take the time to really look at that, learn from your experiences and make some good choices. So now we're going to shift gears completely and I'm going to start looking at the specific courses that you need. So this first section is just courses that are required, but you have choices within those required courses or subject areas. So for this, literary studies, creative writing, and new media. So for a language arts or English course, you have 3 options. None of these is more important than any of the others. They're all equal in the eyes of everybody here. So, literary studies is a course for those who enjoy literature and reading, looking at nonfiction, novels, short stories, poetry, essays, and plays. Creative writing is exactly what it says, writing for self-expression, learning to reflect, sharing your works, lots of activities ranging from short fiction to poetry to interviews, lots of different styles of writing. And new media is really for those who are interested in looking at the sort of more digital language and language in that digital context, where there's things like looking at film studies, journalism, podcasting, or writing for gaming, how we use language in media. Please see Mr. Solly for more information on those courses, or as always, talk to your teacher. So here are some of the social studies courses. And what I want to highlight is every course here counts towards graduation and fulfills the social studies requirement. You do not need the 11 before the 12. They're just all different courses. So any one of those meets social studies requirement for graduation. Of course, you can take more than one if you really want to. Now, let me go over those quickly. BC First Peoples is where you get an opportunity to collect some knowledge and understanding of the traditions, culture, language, and realities of the BC Aboriginal people. Contemporary Indigenous Studies is a brand new course we're offering for the first time. And to talk about that, I'm going to bring up a video from Mr. McGrath.
Bonjour Raiders, it's Mr. McGrath here, and I'd like to tell you all about an exciting new and very different course that you can take next year called Contemporary Indigenous Studies 12. Enjoy authentic learning experiences and explore how identities, worldviews, and languages of Indigenous peoples are renewed, sustained, and transformed through connections to the land. Learn about culture, law, economy, philosophy, history, social justice from an Indigenous perspective. Oftentimes in school, you've learned about Indigenous peoples through a depressing and tragic lens, but that's not even close to the full story. So, if you're interested in a fun course where you'll focus on learning about Indigenous traditions, achievements, contributions, and hopes for the future, then Contemporary Indigenous Studies is for you. If you have any questions about any senior social studies courses, please see me in room 179. Haichka.
Thank you very much, Mr. McGrath. And that sounds like a cool course that actually celebrates what our Indigenous population has done and shared with us. Explorations in Social Studies is another course, and that is Canada 1914 to present, looking at Canadian issues with a focus on our culture, society, politics, and the law. Genocide. That course, once you've defined what genocide is, it actually explores the conditions leading to genocide and learn about how people recognize and respond to genocide in positive and negative ways. Law looks at Canadian legal system, how our social values are actually reflected in our laws, and looks at criminal and civil law. Physical geography is another new course that we are happy to offer for next year. So let's take a look at what this is about, and Mr. Stewart will be sharing his knowledge of this course with us.
Physical Geography 12 meets the graduation requirements for a senior social studies course, and a good reason to take it is what Physical Geography 12 will help you do is understand the physical world as it works. We talk about astronomy, oceanography, how rivers and landforms work. If you want to go into the building trades or architecture, if you want to go into urban planning, if you're interested in the environment and natural resources, if you want to bridge the gap between social studies and the practical sciences and the earth sciences, if you want to understand how lakes and rivers work, how forestry works, mining, the economic heart of our country, you want to take Physical Geography 12.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stewart. So lots of good information there about that new course. Social justice is a course that really explores the issues around social injustices, and it looks at it from sort of the local, national, global level. Things like racism, sexism, oppression, homophobia are looked at. And 20th century world history looks at the years between 1919 and 1991, looks predominantly at World War II and sort of who those great powers were of that era and how they shaped the world. Now, over here we have psychology, and although psychology does not meet the graduation requirement of a specific socials course, it absolutely is in the social studies department, but it also, the credits, you still get 4 credits for it, counts towards graduation. And that course is more about the learning, memory, human behavior, looking at what we call altered states of consciousness, such as sleep, drugs, hypnosis, etc. So lots of options in social studies. Going to science, we have a lot of options as well. In chemistry, we're really looking at lab safety, properties of substances, chemical formulas, chemical reactions, etc. Earth science is looking at the introduction to Earth and space sciences, looking at things like astronomy, geology, and oceanography. Life sciences used to be biology 11, looks at the diversity of life by studying the kingdoms of living things. There's dissections and labs in that course. Physics looks at the scope and limitations of physics to explain the world around us, and it kind of looks at the dynamics, mechanical and heat energy, nuclear physics, to name a few things. And science for citizens, the last science there, is the sort of science and technology in the real world, looking at things like household chemistry, technology in the home, health and space is explored. So lots of options there. What I do want to point out is the first 4 often meet the entrance criteria for some of the universities and other schools, where Science for Citizens does meet the graduation requirements, and for some colleges. So you need to pay attention to what Miss Abad says tomorrow to learn a little bit more about that. For math, you'll notice that instead of 2 math types of courses, you have 3. Those of you who took Workplace 10 will be taking Workplace 11. Those of you who took Foundations in Pre-Calc Math 10 will now have to make a choice about branching out to either Foundations of Math or Pre-Calc Math. Please talk to your math teacher to see which one makes the most sense for you. And again, pay attention tomorrow to Miss Abad's presentation so you know how your math choice actually impacts your future courses around post-secondary. Foundations is for more arts programs. Pre-Calc is for programs or people who want to get into business type programs, science, engineering, things that are much more math heavy. And Workplace is for the majority of trades, but not all trades. Some trades need pre-calc, and for direct entry to the workforce. So choose your math pathway carefully. Career Life is the one elective that you absolutely have to take next year, and you learn a little bit more about career choices and options, and finances in the future, and if you want a new car, what's that going to cost you? If you want to eat, what's that going to cost you, etc. Now, what we're looking at for the next few minutes is the elective choices. So these are not connected to required courses, but they're courses that you can just choose for credits. As always, ask teachers for more information or look at the Delview Course Planning Guide, and I'll show you where that is in a few minutes. Languages, I do want to just say, you do not need a French or Spanish or second language to graduate, period. These are all electives. You might want to continue with French if you've taken it. You might want to jump into introductory Spanish or take both if you want. Many post-secondary institutions want some sort of a language at the grade 11 level, some at intro. Do your homework, pay attention to what Miss Abad says, and then you can make a decision around your language. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of details about these courses because I don't have the time, and you can go and see the teachers or even read the course booklet to get information about these types of courses. So in media arts, you can do everything from animation to film to photography, a real range. Please do note that yearbook is after school and outside of the timetable. For the visual arts, there are things where you are working with painting, stained glass, printmaking, you're doing some drawing, etc. See Mrs. Johnson for more information, or as usual, read the course selection booklets. So last year we offered this course but didn't run it, and because it's new, I have asked Mr. Pocock to actually tell us a little bit about this. Oops, sorry.
Do you like movies and want to learn more about what goes on behind the scenes? What a cinematographer's job is, or what Foley artists do? Then you should sign up for film studies. In this course, we're going to look at the history of film and popular movies, as we learn more about what it takes to make the movies we all love to see. We'll look at how filmmakers structure their films to communicate different ideas and feelings to the audience. Explore movies from different genres and decades, as we analyze everything from Citizen Kane to the MCU. Let's explore and learn just what it is about movies that make them so great.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pocock. That sounds like a lot of fun. Wonder if there'll be a lot of popcorn there. Anyways, that's another course to sign up for next year. And in business education, we have a real range, everything from, the financial records of a business to setting up your web design programming, learning how to run a business and planning the advertising, etc. Lots of information there. For home economics, you can learn a little bit about cooking and trying new foods, learning about healthy relationships, sexuality, eating disorders. You can learn in home ec how to fashion design, knit, crafting, etc. Real range in there. For folks doing the physical health education or wanting to keep active, there's lots of different ways to keep fit. Everything from playing sort of competitive games, doing things that are more sort of individual, like workout classes, yoga, etc., to weightlifting. And we now have a new class that we're going to offer this or next year. So let's hear from Mr. Lobman. I did that again. Sorry, folks. Just one click and we'll be fine.
Morning, Raiders. Delview is offering a volleyball course next season. The course is going to be available to all grade 10, 11, and 12 students, regardless of if you've never played before, all the way up to if you're a little bit more experienced and want to refine your skills. The course is going to run in the mornings from 7 o'clock until 8:10, right before school. It's going to meet a senior PhD course requirement or a grade 10 elective. You will have the opportunity in the class to learn volleyball skills and techniques, to develop your team dynamics understanding, as well as to work towards a refereeing certification, which will allow you, if you so choose, to work and get a job after school or even while you are in school. If you are interested in learning how to play volleyball or learning to refine your technique and skills, then please sign on up.
Thank you, Mr. Lobman. Sounds like another fun way to keep fit for folks. And technology education. I think these are the chairs they actually made in woodworking class one year. You have multiple options there, learning everything from building cabinets and tables to computer drafting, learning how to use a laser cutter, 3D printing. Talk to the teachers, look at the course booklet for more information there. Performing arts, you can do everything from singing in a musical, learn some dance moves. You could write a play, direct a play, act in a play. All of those things are options. Please pay attention to band is in the morning, and these courses with asterisks, so script writing, theater company and theater production are after school. Everything else is in school. So pay attention to that, please. And then there are courses where you can help others. So leadership is planning activities around the school and most importantly, helping with the transition from grade 7 to grade 8. Peer tutoring is to working in a classroom, either with the whole class, a small group, or individual students. We're not sure yet about the application process, but you'll be signing up for those and then we'll sort through the details of that. In the spring, library, you can work in the library and learn how to operate the system there. If you need extra help or you think you need support and you've had strategies for learning of some sort, please talk to your case manager or your counselor about that. Or if you need English language learning, I obviously need that. See Ms. Farina, your counselor, for that. You do have career programs that you can choose from, and I know Mr. Burt will be in talking to you folks about that. So I'm not going to go into a lot of details, but work experience is where you actually get to try a job on for size. You do 90 hours of volunteer. Work and trades is where you are working towards your apprenticeship. You'll be working with a journey person and you can actually get 16 credits and you get paid and get credits for school. And train and trades are the ASIP programs where people might be going to KPU or BCIT or something for a semester. Lots of information on the website. See Mr. Burt or your counselor for more information. The district does have some specialized academies, and for next year they all seem to be running in the Ladner or South Delta. District will not be providing transportation, but if you're interested, follow the link on the website, come see us and we can help you get the information you need for that. So now the big thing is picking courses. I want you to go to spend some time on the Delview website, going to course planning, going into grade 11 is the link I'm following. The course planning book is there and it is super helpful around what's in there. All the grad requirements are in there, course descriptions, all of that is there. So please take the time to look at that. There's another review, another sheet that is put out around grad requirements and what you need. So you can take a look at that, make sure you're on the right track. And something that I think is quite useful is this practice worksheet. So all the information you need is there and it really helps you, like, yes, these are the English courses, these are the socials, I need to take one of those, one of those, one of those. What are the electives? And doing this before we take you into the lab would be really good because you'd have a good sense of what you need. Just go to the website and you can print it from there. One thing that I really want you to think about too is that you need alternates. So you pick the 8 courses you want for next year, but you have to pick 2 extras in case the ones you want don't work. Do not leave those blank thinking that then we won't give you anything. Then we let the computer pick, and that doesn't usually work well for students. You must pick alternates. And on here, on this sheet, what I like about it is it has everything that you need, and it has your applied skills and your arts courses in there. So everything you need to graduate, all the information is on that one sheet. So worth printing. And boy, oh boy, folks, if you have not yet logged into MyEd, you need to get going. All right. Or if you can't remember your passwords and things, you need to get on that because you will be picking your courses next week through MyEd. And if you can't get in, we pick your courses for you. And that is not how we want to do it. So my last thing I want to say here is that we will be taking you in and doing course selection in the next week or so. But you do have until March 4th to make changes in the system. After that, we shut the system and you will be committed to the courses that you have selected. And you can ask anybody in grade 11 and 12. It was a nightmare for people who were trying to pick courses or change courses this year. There really wasn't room to have that happen. And interesting that we finish off. Those are my 2 pups. And this is the same park, different trail that I showed at the beginning. And I guess they're both walking different ways, choosing their own path. So for you folks, I want you to choose your own path, choose your courses, and do what works really for you. That is the end of my presentation. If you have questions, please check in with your counselor and we will be happy to help you. Thank you. Enjoy your day.